I'll leave you with the fact the CIA developed a strategic analysis program on political Islam, and that's on their website. It's called In Recognition That Forces That Have Not Traditionally Been Studied in a Comprehensive Manner by the Intelligence Community Needed to Be Examined as They Affect the National Security Interests of the U.S. The effort does not focus on Islam as a religion or on the worldwide Muslim community. Rather, it examines those movements and organizations that use religion for political purposes and use religious ideology to attempt to change the existing political, social, or economic order. So either the entire CIA is out to lunch, or there is a threat of an ideology, which is political Islam. And we as Muslims need to start focusing on that. The media does, and our elected officials. So I call on leaders like Congressman Ellison to stand with us and recognize that the separation of mosque and state is essential, and that groups that do not do that are actually at risk for creating an ideology and facilitating ideologies that are part of the problem and not part of the solution. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jasser. I'd like now, if I could, to call on Congressman Keith Ellison. Congressman Ellison and I serve on the Judiciary Committee together, and we grown to become more and more acquainted as we've gone along. And I want to publicly just thank him for his courage and his willingness to be here. It means a great deal to us. So please go ahead here.
Thank you, Congressman. And also, let me just say to everybody, peace be unto you. I could say it in another language. It would just be assalamu alaikum. And also let me welcome our speaker today, and thank him for his candid views. I believe that offering candid viewpoints is the essential to getting to the right answer. I think that if I were to critique his remarks, I would focus on one kernel. I think he first commits the mistake of overgeneralization and emphasizing and selecting out one group and representing it as the entire problem when it clearly is not. That is selecting Muslims out when in fact religious fanaticism which motivates people to commit acts of violence is a universal problem found in every faith and is a serious problem. And of course there are Muslims who are guilty of this, but they're not only Muslims guilty of this, and I'll elaborate on that in a moment. So he commits that mistake of overgeneralization and moves on to commit another mistake and says, well, the solution then is to police thought, which is about as un-American as I can possibly imagine, by saying we've got to attack an ideology. I think it's fine to debate an ideology, but to employ the instrumentality of the state to try to suppress the way people believe in a country dedicated to the idea of freedom of expression, freedom of association, no establishment of state religion, the right to petition their government for grievances, the right to a free press. To advocate such a thing in a country such as ours, I think reveals a startling lack of understanding about civics. And so let me go back to my original thesis. Look, when Yigal Amir, one of the 7/7 bombers, 19-year-old guy, participated in bombing a London subway, he clearly was milked by somebody operating under a pernicious religious ideology. That person may claim Islam, but that's not Islam I recognize. Fine. But what about Baruch Goldstein, who killed worshipers based on religious belief in Israel? What about Mr. Modi, who is a public official in India who motivated Hindus to kill 2,500 Muslims? What about people who bomb abortion clinics? And they could be against abortion all you want, but you cannot use violence to stop what you regard as morally repugnant. We have a legal system and a political system which gives you ways to stand up against things you don't believe in, and using violence inspired by your Christian faith to kill doctors and women just because you oppose what they're doing. Even if you think it's completely objectionable to use violence, I don't think there's one member of Congress who would say that is okay. So I can identify Muslims, Christians, Jews, and Hindus, and maybe more than that, who have sought out religious justification to commit catastrophic acts of violence which are abhorrent and repugnant to all people. So from Dr. Jasser to come here and act like Muslims are the problem, I think is erroneous. But I will admit that there are some Muslims who do advocate belief systems that do ripen into violence, and everyone, Muslims included, must stand against these people. I'm worried about my 13-year-old daughter, who is a hijabi, not a jihadi. I know some people who aren't used to the language might not be able to tell the difference. But my daughter is 13. She wears a hijab to school every day. I never told her she had to. She wants to. Now, is somebody going to snatch my daughter's hijab off, call her a horrible name, spit on her because of something that you said, Dr. Jasper? I worry about that. I think you give people license for bigotry. I think people who want to engage in nothing less than Muslim hating really love you a lot because you give them freedom to do that. You say, yeah, go and get after them. I'm a black man, and we're familiar with this kind of concept, you know? We're familiar with people who would seek to ingratiate themselves with powerful people in the white community and would in turn on the rest of us and give license to attack us all. Arguing things, oh, African Americans are criminally inclined. Oh, they're all in gangs. Oh, they're all on welfare. They're welfare. Black people who say stuff like this, what they're really trying to do is win themselves individual benefit at the expense of everyone else. I don't know you well enough to know that that's what you're doing, but I must admit that when I heard you speaking, that's what I thought of. The fact is that we all need to come together to stand against religious intolerance and people who engage in violence. And when a speaker says, I object to a group of peacefully gathering Muslim worshipers at the Capitol, and objects to the message and says that they shouldn't say this or he must say that, I'm saying, you know, maybe some other country, but in America, you can do that. In America, you're free to do that. In America, it's okay there's a lady right out in front of the Capitol right now who has her Jesus icon, and she plays religious music, and I say God bless her for doing it. Even though I'm not a Christian, I thank God that she can do that in this wonderful country, and I would be very, very upset if those people could not come to the Capitol and pray. I think it's critical that they be allowed to do that. And I think if anyone thinks that the imam's message should be different, they should write a letter to the imam and make some suggestions. But to publicly say that that's a problem, I'm telling you, could lead to members of this body introducing resolutions to ban them from doing this. And if you haven't been around here and you don't know how the place works, you may not realize that that is something that could happen. But it could happen. The fact is, since I've been here, my colleagues have treated me extremely well, but there have been particular occasions because of my faith where I've had to have talks with folks because of things that they're pushing that I think would diminish the rights of not only Muslims but all Americans, which would infringe upon our rights as Americans. Now, I did go to Phoenix. I didn't go there to celebrate any organization. I didn't go there to condemn any organization. Members of this Phoenix community invited me to offer some remarks, and I did. And so I don't regret it. I appreciate the fact that people have their First Amendment rights to make any statements that they wish about my visit, but I didn't come to fundraise for anyone or to promote or to condemn. I came to speak to the people of Phoenix and was very happy to do so. I spoke at more events than just the one that the speaker identified, and I really enjoy Phoenix and Arizona and was extremely pleased to be able to visit. And I would go back again.